Today, we become legends.
Hey, my name's Inter, and welcome back to Inter Games for another quick God guide. This time, we're going to be covering Ull-her, the glorious one. And I just want to say a huge thanks for the reception on the Mulan guide that I put out yesterday. I can make these guides really quickly, so I'm going to be pumping them out on the second channel, so make sure you subscribe. There was a huge spike in subscribers from people watching that Mulan video. So I appreciate that, and be sure to subscribe if you want to catch all these guides that are going to be coming out on the second channel, because they're pretty easy to make. I'll be probably pumping out a lot of these for all of your favorite gods. But yeah, next up, we have Ull-her. As always, we'll be going over the abilities, combos for Ull-her specifically, because he's a very combo heavy character, and then of course builds as well. As always, do let me know if there's anything else you want to see in these guys. Leveling order is something I will do in this one as well. I'm not sure if I even mentioned that, but I kind of forgot to do leveling order for Mulan. Leveling order makes sense, you know, as a basic thing. If you're just getting into the god, you might not know which abilities to level, so we'll do that as well in this one. But yeah, let me know down below if there's anything else you want to see covered in these guys. I can definitely add it in. But without further ado, let's get into Ull-her. So Ull-her is a hunter character in SMITE 2. He is generally going to be dealing a lot of ranged burst damage. He is an ability based hunter, so he generally doesn't use auto attacks that much. He's not going to be standing here like pinging you down with these as much as like a traditional hunter would be, but he does a hell of a lot of ability burst damage, and he's also a stance switcher. So you have the bow stance and you also have the axe stance, so you have different abilities in each of those, which we'll go over now. So I guess actually with Ull-her, it probably makes sense to start off with the stance switch. So of course this is the way you stance switch with Ull-her. It's your ultimate. It has no cost and basically no cooldown. You can stance switch whenever you want. Changing stances will remove disarms, which is a very minor benefit, but it can sometimes be useful in certain matchups. You know, if you're going in for like a big axe combo or something, as soon as you switch to bow stance, if you got disarmed while you were throwing the axe by like a Bologna, when you switch to bow stance, you can actually auto attack. It's more so thematical because obviously he's dropped his bow to pick up his axes, he would be disarmed, but it actually can have gameplay implications. And then the other benefit is he gains strength and lifesteal based on which stance he's in, and half the benefit in the opposing stance. So you get up to 34 free strength and up to 11% free lifesteal. So obviously like 17 strength and like 5.5% lifesteal in the opposite stances. And yeah, just as you rank the ultimate up, it's going to do nothing else but just give you those extra stats. But moving into the regular abilities. So first up in bow stance, the one is just a line shot bow. It's very simple. It does pretty high ability burst damage, just a line shot. Ull-her's abilities themselves are relatively simple, but he can be quite a complex character to play in terms of his combos. I don't think I mentioned it before either, but Ull-her is entirely strength scaling in SMITE 2. He has no intelligence, so this is an entirely strength scaling ability. And then the one in axe stance is going to be a thrown axe, which is going to stun. And this will only connect with the first god hit. So like bladed arrow, you can hit multiple with. Axe is only going to connect with the first god hit and stun them. And we'll get into it later, but this is the ability that you use to set up Ull-her's main combos. The 2 is a simple buff, so you gain bonus attack speed in the bow stance, and you will gain bonus movement speed in the axe stance. The buff does persist when you switch stances, so if I get this attack speed here, I'm still going to have the attack speed in axe stance. If I get movement speed here, I'm still going to have the movement speed in bow stance. And these last 5 seconds, which is a fairly long duration for a steroid, you can very easily just like pop these axes, switch to bow stance, kind of be running around pretty fast for a while, just dumping abilities on people and stuff. But yeah, this is just going to be a buff, movement speed in axe stance, attack speed in bow stance. And finally for Ull-her, we have the 3, which in bow stance is a circle targeter that you can fire from pretty large range. Fairly small targeter, but you can poke people with that if you want to. And of course, it's used in his main combo. And then in axe stance, it's a simple jump. Gonna do damage there. They also added a new feature to Ull-her's 3 in SMITE 2, which you probably just saw there. Whenever you use your 3 in either stance, it leaves behind a deployable. So you have the axes where you land in axe stance, and when you swap stance, it's going to blow up that deployable. For the axes, it's going to shred protections off of people when those explode. And for the bow, it's going to leave that behind, and that's going to create a slow area. So it's not overall massively relevant to Ull-her's game plan. Like playing him in SMITE 2, you're going to play him the same way you played in SMITE 1, but you can just sometimes get, you know, if you're poking someone and you swap stances to an axe, they might be slowed for a bit. And that can maybe, you know, help you hit an axe, or it can, if you're like jumping away, you land, someone's chasing you in melee, you swap stances and blow them up and they have their protection shredded. It's not something you have to think about too much, but it's just a little extra feature that Ull-her got in SMITE 2. But that's pretty much all of his abilities, and before we move on to explaining Ull-her's combo and all that kind of stuff, the best ways to do it, what I would highly recommend on Ull-her is going to instant cast. I've been playing on quick cast, so I can show you the targeters of all of the abilities. But I would highly recommend going to instant cast on Ull-her, which you can do in the gameplay settings here to set your cast mode to instant. You can do it per ability, or you can do it global. And this is going to be really important. It's going to make Ull-her feel a lot better for you. You can go like a quick cast on maybe the axe if you want to be able to aim it better or something if you're not comfortable on instant cast. But as someone that plays primarily on quick cast on all of my other gods except for Susanoo and Ull-her. It is essential to play instant cast on Ull-her. You're going to have a much better time if you get used to it. It might take a while to get used to not being able to, you know, properly aim your abilities, but you can just do all of your stuff so much faster on Ull-her if you're on instant cast. But yeah, before we get into builds, let's explain Ull-her's combos a little bit, or mainly just his one combo. You know, he obviously does the axe big damage combo. That's how you burst people. And so the very basic combo for Ull-her is just axe into swap stance, into bow 3, into bow 1. You can also weave auto attacks in there, which we'll get to in a second, but this is what the basic combo is going to look like. I actually did weave an auto in there because of muscle memory, but yeah, that's basically what the combo is going to be. You go throw the axe, swap to that stance, and then both those hit at the same time. You want to do the bow 3 first because it's got a much lower post-fire time, because if you do the 1 first, it's a while before you can get the 3 out, and sometimes they can be unstunned and can juke out the 3, whereas if you do the 3 first, they're both going to land like basically at the exact same time, and you're going to get all that burst damage without them really being able to avoid it. But yeah, that's the main idea of the combo, just doing that. But you can also weave in auto attacks in there if you're getting a little more advanced on Ull-her. Is very good. You build Hydra's Lament on him, you can get a lot of auto attack damage because you build very high strength. Even weaving in 1 auto into this combo is going to add a substantial amount of damage. And so you can do something like this. Just weave in a couple of autos. You don't want to weave in too many. You don't want to be like autoing before you do all the abilities, but you can also cancel, and that will still give you enough time while they're stunned to be able to do it. Let's just make sure we hit a Yume bot that's not DR'd at all, but you can do something like that. I weaved in 2 autos there, and everything still landed before he was on stun. So you can weave in a few autos in the middle of the combo as well. But yeah, if you really want to get into Ull-her, I would recommend honestly just sitting in practice for a little bit and just trying to get this combo down perfectly, because you know, even I fucked it up there. Like playing Ull-her is kind of essential to be able to do this combo consistently as soon as you react to be able to land an axe. And if you want to, you can even get more advanced and start activating like buffs from the 2 and stuff like that in the middle of it. But honestly, you don't really need to too much, because the 2's giving you attack speed and movement speed. They're not going to be necessarily relevant to your combo damage. But if you want to, you know, you can start doing stuff like this and weaving in like your 2 in bow stance in the middle of the combo and stuff like that. But that's stuff for the future. You know, if you're just getting basically into Ull-her, I would recommend just doing this combo. And then you can start weaving in auto attacks when you're comfortable with it. Throwing in a couple of autos like that, and that's basically the idea of Ull-her. That's your entire game plan, is just fishing for hitting the axe and then just going for the combo. Okay, so I'm just editing this in at the end. I forgot to do leveling order, but it will be in the middle of the video for you. I'll do some editing trickery. So Ull-her's leveling order is a little different than most gods. He kind of has some weird ways of leveling his abilities. Generally, you want to be maxing the 1 and the 3, so you will take like the 1, for example. Let's say you got to level 9, you're going to want the 1 maxed, you're going to want 1 point in your ultimate, so as soon as it becomes available, you take 1 point in your ultimate, just because that starts giving you, like, some of the stats. Like, you get 10 and 3, and then the upgrades aren't as important. So generally, I stop putting points into my ultimate, I just get it at level 5, and then I wait to put points into the ultimate until the very last point's available. And then you want to put 3 points into your 3 like this as well. So at level 9, this is what your ability order should look like. Yes, you don't take the 2 generally. You can if you want to, because it does provide some utility. You know, the movement speed can be useful for getting out of fights, escaping ganks and stuff. So if you want to, you can just put 1 point into 2 here and, you know, skip leveling your 1 or your 3 at 1 point. But this is generally what you should look like at level 9 with Ull-her. You actually don't take the 2. And then for the rest, you're going to want to max out your 1 and 3 first. Then you'll start taking points in the 2. I like to take the 2 over the ultimate, and then you start putting points in the ultimate. And that is how you'll finish off Ull-her's leveling order. Again, that is a little complicated. If you don't want to complicate it too much, you can just take 1 point in the 2 and then just max out your 1 and 3. Leave your ultimate for last. But yeah, that is the general ability leveling order for Ull-her. And that is just to maximize your combo damage. You know, Ull-her doesn't really care too much about having this buff, so just maxing out points into your 1 and 3, it just gives you more damage on the absolutely disgusting combo that he has. But yeah, that's pretty much it for Ull-her in terms of combos and abilities. Let's jump into some builds. It's going to be a lot simpler than the Mulan builds that I did yesterday, because ADC builds, generally, you can follow the same build every game for the most part and be pretty okay with it, whereas solo laners have to be more counter building. But yeah, kicking it off with Ull-her. So in terms of starter items, this is a little different at the moment. Mainly because ADCs have been going jungle starter items to be able to clear the side buffs faster. So at the moment, I would recommend going Bumba's Cudgel on Ull-her into Bumba's Hammer. It's really useful for him. It gives a flat cooldown reduction of 0.5 seconds on the base and 1 second on the upgrade every time you hit an auto attack after an ability. Because Ull-her is consistently hitting auto attacks after abilities like this, you're going to get a lot of Bumba's cooldown reduction like after you do your combos and stuff. So Bumba's is really good at the moment. Mainly because it gives that bonus farm from jungle camps. Or not bonus farm, but bonus damage to jungle camps, so you can farm them more effectively. But I do feel like at some point these are going to get nerfed to a point where laners can't really build them. They won't be able to clear like lane effectively or whatever. Hyras are going to find some way to nerf this so that laners don't build it. They don't want them doing that. So at the moment, I think Bumba's is really good, but once that gets nerfed and we go back to more standard builds where lane rolls aren't buying jungle starter items, Bluestone Pendant is the way for Ull-her. And of course, you're going to upgrade that into your Bluestone Brooch. This is just additional physical damage on all of your abilities. So just every time you hit something, you're going to be stacking up that Bluestone Pendant. You can see those yellow numbers popping off there. And that's just going to help add a bunch of damage to to your regular combo. You know, you just see all those yellow numbers. I've probably added, you know, 150, 200 damage to my combo there. So yeah, Bluestone definitely the way to go for Ull-her. And then in terms of first item, you almost always want to be going Transcendence on Ull-her because he's very mana heavy. You know, if you're running around like spamming abilities constantly, he's a stance switcher, so he has multiple abilities available. Obviously, I have cooldown reduction on right now. You won't be spamming this much, but you have a lot of abilities, and look how much mana I just drained. You definitely want Transcendence on Ull-her. Not only for the infinite mana that it provides, or near infinite mana, but also just because it's a very high strength item. It's going to be giving like 60, 70 strength when at full build, which is really useful. And that's generally what you want to be going for on Ull-her. You want to be going for insanely high strength and cooldown reduction. That's basically what it wants to be going for. It's not like a traditional hunter build where you want attack speed and like kin size on hit effects and stuff. You're just going for a massive amount of strength, a massive amount of ability item proc effects like Crusher and Heartseeker, and of course some cooldown rate to make sure you can get your abilities out more quickly. We'll just make sure we stack up this Transcendence, because why not? And yeah, there you go. That's Transcendence fully stacked. 50 stacks is going to be giving an absolute crap ton of mana. As you can see, I've got 1800 mana just with one item, and allows Ull-her to just spam his abilities to his heart's content. Next up, I see kind of two items used in this second slot for the most part on Ull-her. What I like is Tekko Kage. I'm a big fan of this item. This gives strength and cooldown rate, and then it gives movement speed and cooldown rate every time you cast an ability. And since Ull-her is a stance switcher who has 6 regular basic abilities, you can keep Tekko Kage stacked up to its maximum 3 stacks very consistently and just be throwing out abilities all the time. Again, I have cooldown reduction on, but, you know, you can be basically constantly throwing out abilities, keeping Tekko Kage up to its permanent stacks. And this is the highest CDR item in the game if you have it stacked. It gives 30 cooldown rate, which no other item in the game does. And it also gives a bit of that extra movement speed, which is nice for Ull-her, just to keep you safe, allow you to chase and stuff like that. But you can basically always keep Tekko Kage fully stacked on Ull-her, so I'm a big fan of it. But something I also see got second item sometimes is Jotun's Revenge, which is a very similar item. It's strength and cooldown rate, and then the passive, whenever you get a kill, your non-ultimate cooldowns are reduced by 1 second, and your ultimate cooldowns are reduced by 5 seconds. And this can be good, but I generally prefer Tekko Kage. The ultimate cooldown reduction on this is completely wasted, obviously, because your ultimate basically has no cooldown, so you're just looking at the 1 second non-ultimate cooldowns, and that can be useful. Ull-her can snowball pretty heavily in a fight, you know, if he gets a kill and then gets a Jotun's proc. But generally, I like Tekko Kage a bit more. It trades 5 strength for 5 cooldown rate, which is probably a trade in your favor, in my opinion, and then you also get 9% movement speed, basically permanently. I find it very useful. But you can go Jotun's in your second slot if you prefer that for your CDR, but I'm a big fan of Tekko Kage. Your next item will always want to be Hydra's Lament, though. Hydra's Lament is super good right now. They added cooldown rate to it. It's just a really good item, and of course on Ull-her it's really good because as you start getting better at the combos, start weaving in auto attacks, you're going to get a lot of additional benefit from the Hydra's Lament. Every time you're weaving in one of those autos, that's going to be boosted by Hydra's Lament. I'm going to be doing a 30% increased basic attack damage. So Hydra's Lament essential for Ull-her, especially if you're, you know, starting to get good at him, starting to weave auto attacks into your combos. Hydra's Lament is insane for him. Also gives a bit of max mana and mana regen, which is nice for Ull-her, as I mentioned in the Transcendent section. Next up, I like to go Crusher. Crusher is, again, really good right now. I think it's a super good item. Gives strength, percent pen, and cooldown rate, all amazing stats for you. And then enemies hit by your damaging abilities take 35% of your strength over 1 second. Subsequent hits do have bonus damage, but just adding this into your combo is very similar to Bluestone Pendant. You're just going to be getting Crusher procs like throughout the whole combo, all those yellow numbers popping off. And it really starts to add up, especially when you add in your next item, which is going to be Heartseeker. Again, another ability item proc. This abilities deal bonus physical damage equal to a percent of your target's max health. And the percent HP damage is equal to 2.5% of your strength. So when you got a lot of strength, this item can be absolutely incredibly broken. And this build is going to have an absolute shit ton of strength. We're almost at 300 already. We haven't even got our final item or any potions or anything. And this is just going to be doing a shitload of extra max health damage. I think you saw there when the Heartseeker proc 118 bonus damage just on that axe, which is kind of nuts. This is on a fairly tanky Ymir, but he still has no build. It's just base health Ymir. This thing also has percent pen as well, so you've got 20% pen between your Crusher and your Heartseeker here. And then your final item is going to be Titan's Bane, which gives you another 20% pen. So you got 40% here, which allows you to at least deal decent damage to tanks. Ull-her is generally not trying to blow up tanks for the most part, but you absolutely can with a build like this because you have a Heartseeker dealing percent max HP damage, you have 40% pen in the build, your damage is quite high anyway. And so you can absolutely delete tanks with this combo, you know, if you want to. I mean, look at that damage. That's just a base Ymir. He had no build or anything, but still, that's kind of nuts. But generally with Ull-her, you're better at targeting these squishies because your combo will just straight up one-shot them. I'm one-shotting a tank here because I'm basically full build and he's got no build, but generally, you should be going for the squishies with Ull-her. But having this 40% pen in these 3 items does allow you to kind of hit tanks pretty hard. And this is the general build I will go with Ull-her every game. I don't think you really need to change it up much outside of maybe adding in a Brawler's Beat Stick if you really need anti-heal, you could swap something out for this. What I would probably swap out is the Crusher if you do want to throw in a Brawler's Beat Stick. It would just go in your slot where Crusher was before. This is still going to give you a bit of percent pen, but it's going to give you that valuable anti-heal if you really do need it in certain matchups, you know, playing into team healers and stuff like that. You can go Brawlers, and I would probably swap Crusher out for that. I think all of these other items are pretty essential for you. But yeah, if we just come back to the regular build, this is what I would build every game on Ull-her. You can also swap in Brawlers, as I said, if you want to. You can also put Jotuns in place of Tekko, as I mentioned before, if you prefer that item, if you prefer the burst cooldown reduction, but I do tend to prefer Tekko for the movement speed. There are other options you could throw in, you know, you could go like Avatar's Parachute for some absolutely insane strength, or you could throw in like a Pendulum Blade or something like that for even more cooldown reduction, just refresh your cooldowns. Reaper's okay as well if you want a bit of lifesteal, but honestly, I think this is just the way to go with Ull-her. This is the general best build that I've found, that I've also seen a lot of pro players using, and I would highly recommend just sticking with this build. But yeah, that is basically everything for Ull-her in terms of abilities, combos, builds, everything you'll need to know, leveling order, all that good stuff. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to drop a like and subscribe for more guides coming in the future. Let me know who you want to see down below in the comments. I can pump these guides out pretty quickly, so if you guys have any requests for gods you do want to see a guide to cover, let me know, and I will catch you guys for another one tomorrow. Peace!